Hey lovely sexy hobby people, welcome to today's video, which is going to be a catch-up flick through for Wargames Illustrated issue 437. I am so far behind on these, I do apologise. There's been a lot of other stuff getting in the way, but let's crack this open, let's have a look. We get, never mind the bill hooks, here's the Ruckus medieval skirmish game rules here. So we'll have a look at that in a little while. Let's have a quick flick through the magazine. Nice artwork on the front here, obviously in keeping with the rules set that they're giving us. Right, let's get straight into the observation post, shall we? New and forthcoming wargame stuff you need to know about. So what have we got here? We've got on military matters assorted books. We sent our observation post skirmishers through on military matters book library and they returned with this report. Looks like several different types of books that they're talking about. Small Deadly Space, 2nd edition. American Civil War. It's priced at £58, 174 page full colour softback wire bound, available from onmilitarymatters.com. American Civil War Battle Manual. Okay. We then have Skirmish Action. This is a revised edition of Lee Sauer's World War II Skirmish Rules from 2016, which offers platoon and company level action through rules that, though quite condensed, offer some intriguing tactical possibilities. So 25 to 28mm, but flexible to 15mm. Period World War II, it's £39, 92 page full colour softback wire bound from On Military Matters. And then we also have Marengo Campaign and Across the Po Valley. These scenario books from Tom Garnett, taking some of the lesser known campaigns of the late French Revolutionary Wars, covering the Second Coalition's adventures in Italy and Switzerland. The first in this 3-volume series was Suvorov in the Alps. Do apologise for butchering that, which is followed up by the 2 books examined here. So Across the Po Valley and Marengo Campaign, and both of these are available again from On Military Matters. 84 page full colour softback wire bound, and they are Napoleonic 28mm scale, that's what they're for, and they're priced at £34 and £32. We then have Osprey Games Silver Bayonet Egypt Shadow of the Sphinx. And again, that's 28mm. It's fantasy / Napoleonic. It's $14.99. Always find Osprey Games books are generally pretty well priced. Format 64 page full colour softback, available from Osprey Games. So Osprey Publishing, I used to look at a lot of their military books for reference when I was doing a lot more military modelling, and I always found that they were really good in that respect. So there's that. Talks about terrain and gods and monsters. We then have from Modifius Entertainment Fallout Factions Raiders. Okay, so this is interesting. Last time we reviewed Modifius Entertainment figures, it was their plastic Brotherhood of Steel in heavy armour. We were impressed with the 3 high detail, high quality hard plastic figures. Oops, something fell off in the hallway. They perfectly replicate the look of the Fallout video game world. So there you go. So these are the operators, the pack, and the disciples are the 3 factions here. 32mm sci-fi post-apocalypse, £35 hard plastic from modifius.com. Bloody Miniatures, a regiment of foot. Bloody Miniatures specialise in 28mm figures aimed at conflicts such as War of the Three Kings or the 30 Years' War in the first half of the 17th century. Their releases have so far focused on filling some of the characterful niches but not typically covered by figure manufacturers such as armed civilians, storming parties or dismounted horsemen. This 8th release is a slight change to this approach as its theme, A Regiment of Foot, is about providing the core command pike and shot figures for a typical foot unit of the period. And they look really nicely sculpted actually. So yeah, scale 28mm pike and shot, £9 per pack or £40 for the full set. Metal is the white metal is the medium, and they're available from bloodyminiatures.co.uk. Wargames Atlantic, Afghan Cavalry. So, arriving like a bolt from the blue in their method of attack and their unexpected appearance through the WI letterbox, Wargames Atlantic's Afghan Cavalry are here. This new set includes 2 different frames, riders and light horse, with 4 of each packed into the box, allowing 12 dramatic mounted figures to be built. So there you go, 28mm again, Colonial Interwar, and they're £34.95 to, or £25. Material hard plastic from Wargames Atlantic. I'm assuming it's £25 for the skeletons, which are down here. Down the bottom, maybe. Helion and Company, Victory or Death, a Wargamer's Guide to the American Revolution. And this is a 216-page full-colour book, available from helion.co.uk. American War of Independence, and for any scale it's £26.25. Right, so that was those bits. Obviously these things have probably all been out for a while because I am running late. Release radar. Let's have a look. Paul Matthews brings some of his favourite and forthcoming releases to Wargaming World. So we got Oathsworn Miniatures at the beginning here. Burrows and Badgers miniatures here. Now, almost a decade later, the range has grown to include over 200 figures, a popular skirmish game, and a sumptuous set of MDF buildings created by none other than Sarissa Precision. Now their range of miniatures is set to expand yet further with this latest litter of armoured anthropomorphs. Although a relatively small release of only 8 figures, there can be no denying they're all incredibly sculpted. Excellent. Iron Duke Miniatures, Zulu Warriors, Iron Duke Miniatures, IronDukeMiniatures.co.uk are in the process of releasing a new set of minis for their Orange River range. These figures are styled after Northern Nguni, Matabele or Zulu warriors, and are intended for war games set in the 19th century. I've got no prices on these, so Warp Miniatures expands its Undead collection, so some of these look good and might be ideal for things like Dungeons and Dragons. Formerly known as Warplock Miniatures, warpminiatures.com is the publisher behind the marvellous Ark World fantasy skirmish game. Alex Huntley, the creator, owner, writer and sculptor behind Ark World, has ploughed his own furrow for some years now. Having switched from traditional 3D sculpting, Alex's work has become more polished of late whilst retaining its charm and idiosyncrasy. So we've got quite a few different things. We've also got some various skeletal warriors here. One with a bow, one with a shield and sword, one with a spear and sword. Looks like some sort of ghost dog, and some other bits and pieces. Another roll of the Crooked Dice.co.uk have been creating cinematic pulp-themed miniatures since 2018. Their catalogue already boasts a smorgasbord of retro-inspired miniatures and games. These, do you know what? I'm looking at this. These look like the miniatures for the Shadow Force from the Action Force range of 6-inch minis, or 3 3/4-inch minis, or whatever it was, that came out in the 80s. It's a collection of figures inspired by fondly remembered action figures from the 80s. Yeah, so that will be the Action Force range that was released in the 80s, because I remember having them. They were Palitoys. I'm not going to say they were the replacement for the 12-inch Action Man figure, but when Star Wars came out, and those, I think it's 3 3/4 inches, the action figures, when that action figure scale came out, Palitoy looked to cash in on it, and they produced a range called Action Force. I think it ran for about 5 years, maybe, or maybe not even that long. Can't remember. Might have been 1982 to 1985, possibly. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, so brilliant. So they've obviously, for, I'm assuming for copyright purposes, they've called this guy Lord Buckethead rather than the Shadow Commander. I forget his name. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles there as well. A mini Future. So this is Future War Commander now has its own dedicated miniature range. 6 to 10mm scale. Pendraken.co.uk have entered the fray, supporting the game with a range of tasty 10mm models. Cool, so we've got some MBTs here, self-propelled gun vehicle, anti-aircraft vehicle, and figures, regular infantry, power infantry, commanders, with a empty desk with a single solitary laptop on it. SBG sees red, French company SBG Editions, myshopify.com. Continues to expand its impressive Cursed Empire range with a new set of Crimson Guard miniatures, a knightly order of old. The Crimson Guard are one of the last bastions between the realm of Thargos and the insidious Dark Run. Sculpted by Lions Tower's Dan Kelly, these 28mm scale miniatures are cast in resin. We then have what looks like 1980s British infantry, 1970s, 1980s British infantry. Already boasting an impressive range of 28mm figures for the Vietnam War, FullMetalMiniatures.com has now turned their attention to the 1980s and a brand new range of 28mm and 20mm minis for the British Army of the Rhine, BAOR. Infantry support, weapons and vehicle crews are all coming on board. So there you go. Mark IV infantry helmets, so that's the tin lid rather than the Kevlar one that was in the Mark VI, which was introduced with the SA-80 and the new webbing and stuff like that. And finally, at the time of writing, footsawminiatures.co.uk, Epic Vikings Kickstarter is entering its final days. So we've got some brilliant here. We've got some Bondi with hand axes and shields, archers in mail, herdmen in mail with spears, and herdmen mail with spears again. Cool. So that was kind of like the miniatures roundup, quick fire. Readers hobby projects. This is a nice board. So this guy's here is talking about how he does his explosions with using cotton wool and tea lights and a bit of paint from an airbrush. Race for the Reichstag. So this looks like a board for gaming the last days of World War II. Right, here we go. Causing a ruckus. So this is an article about the rules here. And it's an interview with Mike Peters, who is the author. Looks like it's going to be an interesting game if you're into your medieval warfare, stuff like that. So, skirmish game. Melee in the Age of Pender. So what's this? Game designer Daniel Mercy turns to a Steve Jackson game to help with the skirmish rules of a 7th century Anglo-Saxons. I am always on the lookout for a different take on Anglo-Saxon man-to-man skirmish games to use with my 18mm Wiglaf Miniatures Age of Pender range. Plenty of other gamers do exactly the same using 28mm, and I've heard tell a few enthusiasts who push individually based 6mm models around a tiny tabletop too. Fighting small skirmishes from a single historical period using different sets of rules provides a wide array of gameplay and combat styles depending on the designer's original intentions. So there you go. It looks like they use hexagonal board for this. All the pictures here seem to be hexagonal basing. And looking at this, grabbing Melee for free. You can try out the rules for free by downloading the official files from the following links: preview drivethrurpg.com.en products 306835 the Fantasy Trip Melee, or warehouse23.com products the Fantasy Trip Melee PDF. Cool. So yeah, a insight into that game. Then we have Dead Man's Hand. Now, when I was at Beachhead this year, which is held in Bournemouth in February, I saw quite a few boxes of this Dead Man's Hand Redux. So that's interesting. This looks to be an interview. We are joined by Mark Wheatley of Great Escape Games as we lift the lid on their new incarnation of the popular Wild West gunfight game Dead Man's Hand. And there looks like there is quite a lot of stuff in these things. Loads of accessories here. You know, I'm looking at barrels, crates, troughs, and that on this accessory sprue for some of their buildings. There's a dog there, and a couple of birds. Yeah, and they look like plastic buildings, which is really nice actually, with the catwalks between the buildings, the raised catwalks between it all. Were they dog boards or duck boards or something between the buildings? Yeah, so lots of accessories here on the photo. How do you do? What is this? Persian elephants? No, it's not Persian elephants, is it? Nick Buxey revisits a painting passion that saw his miniatures first featured in pages of Wargames Illustrated. Elephants. Howda you do? Howda Spence, H-O-W-D-A-H. Besides loving wargaming, I have always loved animals and enjoy the opportunity to add them in miniature form to my Wargames armies. Common pack animals like ponies, donkeys and mules have found their way into my collections, and mules feature significantly in a demonstration game I contributed to some years ago, which was set during the Carlist Wars in Spain. Pack llamas were fun to create for my Conquistador games, as were pack yaks for Back of Beyond excursions. So yeah, just talking about his processes that he's used for painting and modelling his elephants. Hammerhead 2024, so you can see how long I've been holding this one and haven't got around to doing it. Painting competition winners gallery. So we have, is that a Castellan robot? Deptus Mechanicus Castellan robot. That's quite nice. And there is a lot of Warhammer. Sci-fi unit, War Machine, Monster. Excuse me. So we have a Bullgrim servitor by the look of it. And then we have a Cataphracti Terminator here. One of the Traitor Legions by the look of it. And then we have Sanguinius. Historical single miniature. These are nice. Oh, Night Owl by Kevin Collier. Look at this fella. That is nice. Diorama Duel. So again, we have some nice dioramas. We have a Troll here. Ney's charge at Waterloo in 1815. Depicted. There is a lot of Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy miniatures in this painting competition, but we also have some Jacobites here ranked up. They look really good. And a Samurai charge, 250/8 SDK of said Stommel. Right, yeah, so that was those pictures. Fanatic Fabrics, what are we looking at here? WI painter Matt Parks grabs the War Paints Fanatic baton and shows us how he used the paints to create some fetching fabrics to brighten up the Old West. So painting guide here for textured fabrics and patterned fabrics. This is cool. Showing you how he started off with his base colour and then segmented this particular dress and top, or skirt and top, so that he could produce the pattern on it. So it looks like he drew a grid pattern with these larger pale green stripes and then added in black stripes to add in the demarcation between each of them. Nicely done. Very nicely done. Pimp My Cog. So here we go, some shipbuilding. The Wargames Illustrated team take their lead from MTV's seminal vehicular enhancement show Pimp My Ride to reconstruct an MDF model cog, which we think you will all agree is fresh, ball-in and even a bit tight. So there you go. So it looks like it's an MDF base and they are obviously adding to it. Looks like they're using some inspiration from this picture because they're adding a canopy to the rear deck here. And looks like they've up-armoured the crow's nest as well. But yeah, just showing you some various different techniques that they've used in order to do that. Fallout Factions launch party report. So a report on the Fallout game, miniatures game, based obviously on the computer game. They've done some great boards here as well. So event report. Lovely looking miniatures. Two's the Tans, 2 examples of Ghoulish Remnants, and 2 Cult of Mothman members. So where to find them? To keep up to date with Callum's work, and why not follow him on Instagram at Callum Paints. Nuka World and the associated figures are out now. Find out more of the game Fallout World at Modifius's website, modifius.net. Unboxing Achtung Panzer. So tank battles, what you get in the box. Looks like you get plenty of scenery, ruins. And I'm just going back to this. It looks like you obviously get your scenery, your tanks, and bits and pieces. What scale is this? I'm trying to see what scale this is, and I can't see it. Sorry, I can't tell you what scale it is. I don't know myself. Let's see if we've got a box which tells us. No, it doesn't. Okay, fair enough. Right. Basing, some basing techniques, etc. And this is for Ruckus. Base currency, various basing techniques. Someone's even used pennies here, or 2 pennies for their miniatures. And then I think we've got the last bit of advertising and the back of the magazine. So let's have a quick look at the rules set. So skirmish games. So it looks like you what is needed to play: 2 retinues, D6s, at least 2 different colours, range ruler, 3 decks of cards, hero deck, divers alarmus, and cunning plan deck. See page 16. These are downloadable from Wargames Illustrated. Deck of standard playing cards, something to record the turn number. They suggest a D12. Retinue sheets for each player, 8 sets of tokens, suggested colours: shooting mishap white, gambit mishap blue, calamity yellow, wound is red, feckless orange, armed for combat black, winded purple, armour broken pink. So there you go. And yeah, so you have heroes and units aplenty. These miniatures here are part of Dungeons and Lasers NPC character pack, I think. First cut down retinues, terrain, sequence of play. So shuffle and cut the hero deck, draw a card, the hero's controlling player declares their actions. Their hero and retainers in their spear will perform. The hero and spear characters activate in any order of their controlling player's choosing, but each character must move and take all actions before the next character is activated. The only exception to this is when a character moves to support another in melee. Go back to the start of 2. Draw a card. Understanding card decks, command and control, activation, movement, some great pictures of differing terrain here. Falling, so you can climb, but if you fall, there is an injury chart. Shooting, melee, and some examples. Yeah, cool. Looks like a really interesting, it's not my sort of thing, medieval, but it looks like it's an interesting skirmish game. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. As I say, it's a catch-up for Wargames Illustrated. This one was issue 437. I've still got a lot more that I need to catch up on. Hopefully, I will see you in the next video. All right, take care. Bye-bye.